There's a place inside you that you've never been. A space between the noise, between the to-do lists and the racing thoughts and the endless scroll of distractions you use to keep yourself company. It exists for maybe half a second, a breath, a pause, and then it's gone. You've spent your entire life avoiding it, and you don't even know why. This isn't a video about meditation hacks or breathing exercises. This is about the most terrifying place in the human experience, the silence between your thoughts, the gap where your real self lives. And why, after all these years, you still refuse to go there. You think you know yourself? You've taken the quizzes, read the self-help books, tried the morning routines and the gratitude journals and the apps that promise to rewire your brain in 10 minutes a day. And maybe they help, for a while. But here's what nobody tells you. All of that is still noise. It's organized noise, productive noise, spiritual noise, but it's noise. Because the real work, the uncomfortable work, happens in the silence you keep running from. That moment when the podcast ends and you're alone with your own mind. When you finish scrolling and the phone goes dark and suddenly you're just there, breathing, existing. And it feels wrong. It feels unbearable. So you reach for the next distraction, the next task, the next anything. Our culture has built an entire economy around keeping you away from that silence. Entertainment, productivity, wellness content that ironically keeps you so busy improving yourself that you never actually meet yourself. And the crazy part, you're grateful for it, because silence feels like drowning, like falling, like standing at the edge of something vast and unknowable. Here's why. From the moment you were born, you've been building an identity, a story about who you are. The good kid, the smart one, the anxious one, the one who has it all together. And that story became your armor, your map, your proof that you exist. Every thought you think reinforces it. Every decision you make feeds it. Until the story and the self become the same thing. But in the silence between thoughts, that story disappears. There's no narrator, no character, no plot, just raw awareness. And your brain interprets this as death. Because if you're not thinking, if you're not doing, if you're not maintaining the story, then who are you? Neuroscience backs this up. Your default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for self-referential thinking, is constantly running. It's the voice that says, I need to remember to email Sarah, and I'm so behind on everything, and I wonder what they think of me. It's the storyteller. And when it goes quiet, even for a moment, your brain panics. It floods you with anxiety, with restlessness, with the urgent need to think about something, anything, to prove you still exist. Psychologists call this the ego's survival mechanism. But in practical terms, it means you've become addicted to your own mental noise. The silence isn't empty. It's full of presence, of awareness, of a version of you that exists before the story begins. But you've been taught to experience that fullness as a void. And yet, some people find it. They sit in meditation and push through the panic and the boredom and the mental screaming. And on the other side, there's something extraordinary. Not peace, exactly, not bliss, but recognition. A sense of coming home to a self you forgot existed. In that silence, you're not the anxious person or the successful person or the person who needs to be fixed. You're just awareness itself, witnessing, experiencing, alive without needing to prove it. Thoughts still come, but they're like clouds passing through a sky. You see them, you watch them dissolve, and you realize you were never the thoughts. You were always the sky. People who reach this place describe it in almost mystical terms. Time stops. The constant pressure to be someone lifts. You breathe and it feels like the first real breath you've ever taken. Colors look brighter. Sounds feel sharper. You become aware of your body, not as a problem to fix, but as a living, breathing miracle you've been ignoring while your mind raced ahead into imaginary futures and haunted pasts. This is what mindfulness teachers mean when they talk about presence. But they can't give it to you. You have to go into the silence yourself. You have to sit with the discomfort until the discomfort transforms into something else. Freedom, spaciousness, the quiet joy of simply being alive. But here's the part they don't put in the meditation apps. Most people never get there. They sit for 5 minutes, feel the panic rising, and quit. They tell themselves meditation isn't for them, that their mind is too busy, that they'll try again when life calms down. And life never calms down. Because the silence isn't just peaceful, it's revealing. In the gap between thoughts, everything you've been avoiding rises to the surface. The grief you've been too busy to feel. The anger you've been too polite to express. The loneliness you've been too connected to notice. Your mind fills the silence with thoughts because those thoughts are protecting you from feeling what's underneath. And sometimes what's underneath is trauma. Unprocessed pain from childhood. Moments when you learned that being yourself wasn't safe. That your real feelings were too much. That you needed to perform, to achieve, to stay busy to be worthy of love. The silence threatens to expose all of it. So your brain, in its desperate wisdom, keeps you distracted. Keeps you thinking. Keeps you safe. This is why healing feels like breaking. Why people resist the very practices that could free them. Why you'd rather scroll through videos about mindfulness than actually sit in silence for 60 seconds. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect you from pain. Even if that pain is old. Even if facing it is the only way out. So what do you do with this? How do you begin to meet yourself in the silence without falling apart? You start small. Unbearably small. 10 seconds of silence after you wake up. One breath where you don't reach for your phone. A single moment where you notice the gap between one thought and the next. You don't need to meditate for an hour. You don't need to achieve some enlightened state. You just need to stop running long enough to realize that the silence won't kill you. That the self you find there isn't empty or broken or too much. It's whole. It's been whole this entire time. And here's the paradox. The more you visit that silence, the less silent it becomes. Not because you're thinking more, but because you start to hear what was always there. The wisdom beneath the worry. The clarity beneath the chaos. The version of you that doesn't need to be fixed because it was never broken. This doesn't mean your problems disappear. Your anxiety might still be there. Your stress might still be real. But you'll stop identifying with it. You'll see it as weather passing through, not the climate of your entire existence. And that shift, that tiny shift in perspective, changes everything. The silence between your thoughts isn't empty space. It's not nothing. It's the place where you've always lived. Beneath the story, beneath the noise, beneath the endless performance of being someone. Your real self isn't hiding. It's been waiting. Patiently, quietly, in the only place you refuse to look. So maybe, just for a moment, stop looking, stop searching, stop trying to figure it all out, and just listen. To the silence. To the space. To the stillness that's been calling your name since before you learned to speak. That's where you are. That's where you've always been. And it's not scary. It's home.